Hola chicos, buenos días. Vamos a empezar con capítulo 6. Vamos a continuar. Y hoy es el viernes, el 16 de abril. Don't forget about your tarea in my lab Spanish. This is due tonight by midnight. And also don't forget that you should submit to me by email the outline for your final presentation once again by this evening. This will not be graded, the draft won't, but your final version will be. Don't forget about your exam 3, and as we talked about the other day, this is the 25th to 26th. And then you have your examen oral 3, which is on, let me just double check. Yes, so that would be the 28th. Okay, and then don't forget that your final project is due May 8th. All right, entonces para empezar, vamos a repasar usted y tú y las diferencias. Okay, so in this activity, you just need to do quickly. It says conjugate the verb for the appropriate pronoun here, and then use te or le appropriately here, and use the possessive pronouns tu or su appropriately below. So take a minute to pause this, to work on this for a second. If you're getting confused here, make sure to reference the page in your book that talks about usted versus tú. So make sure to pause and then I will go over this. Okay, so here for tú or for usted, it should be puede. Spell it correctly. Puede. Here, this should be sabes. Tú no sabes hablar el portugués. Okay, down here for using te and le appropriately, since we have a ti, we know this should be te gusta el café. And for usted, or a usted, when we see this, we know it should be le. Le encantan los postres. This is what we did with gustar a few chapters ago. Here for this one with possessive pronouns, if you remember. So, ¿cómo se llaman padres? So we need to say not only just su, because we've got usted, but we need to say sus, because it's plural, sus padres. And then seis, same thing. Since we know it's for tú, we're going to use tú without the accent to show the possessive pronoun. But we also need to make it plural because of hermanas. So tus hermanas. Okay. All right, so moving on to the next topic. Now we're going to talk about mandatos. Estamos en la página 118 y la página 119. Okay, so for mandatos informales y formales, usted y tú, we have two different versions. So if we look up here, we have regular forms here for tú. So for example, we have mira, bebe, sube. So if you notice here, take a look right here where it says regular command conjugations for tú, we use the present tense conjugation for la usted. Okay, so once again, the command forms for tú are typically equivalent to the regular conjugations for la usted in the present tense. Okay, so this is to say like tú, mira aquí, look over here. Okay, or bebe agua, drink water. Sube, so come upstairs, sube, something like that. Some irregular forms we have for tú, we have pon, be, di, ten, sal, ben, as. Okay, so we have several that are quite a few that are irregular here. The ones you'll probably use more often than not out of the irregulars are di, ten, and as. These are very, very common. We'll get to usted in just a second, but for right now, we're going to do some practice with tú. Okay. And here are some other examples that I've given you for the verbs right here. These are just regular examples. So habla, lee, vive, baila, duerme, y corre. So what you're going to do now, these are several verbs, or 11, I should say, that you're going to do just the conjugations for tú. So just the informal tú commands. And then why don't you just pause it for a second, try to do them on your own, and then I will go over the answers. Okay. So for numero uno, so it's simply, we just, like I said, we make it the present tense conjugation for el, ello, usted. So we have desayuna, sigue, sal, so that one's irregular. So this o to ue, okay. So some of these, even if you're not familiar with them, they have certain patterns like ones we've seen before. Okay. So o to ue, we have devuelve, ofrecer, ofrece, hacer, haz, it's irregular, solicitar, solicita, decir, which is irregular, di, alquilar, alquila, and ir, which is also irregular, ve. Then we have reservar, reserva. Okay, so then moving on for mandatos de usted y ustedes. Now, really you only need to know usted for the exam, but I wanted to introduce ustedes as well. So before I show you what these look like, over here, read this. It says, for regular command conjugations for usted and ustedes, the way that we formulate these is first, we conjugate the present tense of the verb for yo. Then we take off the o ending, okay, and add the opposite ending. Oops, and I'll show you what that means. We don't add s here. Let me delete that quickly. Okay. Okay. So let me show you what that would look like. First we have hablar. Then we change it to hablo. And if we want to take off the o ending for hablo, we just have hablo. And when I say the opposite ending, it's going to be the same for all of these here. So since hablar is an AR verb, we're going to instead add E at the end. So hable, speak. So you're telling to usted formally, hable. And then if we wanted to do it for ustedes, all we do is simply add ene on the end. For leer, so this is an ER verb. We conjugate it to leo. We have le. And then for the opposite ending, since it's an ER verb, we add a to the end. So lea. And then lean for ustedes. Vivir. Okay. We have vivo. We take off o. And we add viva. Or add a to make viva. And then vivan. Tener. We have tengo. So this is where sometimes it gets a little complicated. So with tener, hacer, seguir, venir, jugar, okay, here. But especially these four, tener, hacer, seguir, venir, we have to add this go, right? So we have tengo, we take off o, we add the opposite ending of er, which is a, and then we have tenga. Hacer, the same thing. It's already irregular in the yo form, so we have hago. Quitamos la o, so we take off o. Y agregamos la a, so we add a. Haga. The same example for seguir, we go from sigo to siga. And then the same for venir, we go from vengo to venga. Jugar, don't forget that we have to change u to ue. So we have juego. And then for this one, in order for it to make the sound ge, we can't just put ge. We have to put gue here. Okay, so juegue. So just be careful with this one. And then for dormir, we have duermo. And remember, o goes to ue, quitar la o, and then agregar la a, so duerma. Sentarse. So for this one's a little bit special. We'll talk a little bit about how to do reflexive verbs in just a second. We have siento, take off a, or take off the o, and the opposite ending would be e, and then we add the pronoun here, and then we have an accent mark. So we'll talk about this in just a second. And then we have some irregulars. These are also listed in your book. An acronym that has helped me, un acrónimo, is dishes. So we have for usted, de. For usted, for ir, we have vaya. Also sea. A ver, we have haya. So this isn't really for usted, but this is to say there is, there are. We'll talk about this later, but this is for another topic, but just keep that in mind. Estar, esté, and then saber would be sepa. Okay, so what you're going to do now is conjugate these 11 verbs at the same ones, but do them for the usted command this time. Okay, so hopefully you paused and took a second to do this. So if we want to say desayunar, we're going to say desayune. Seguir, if we have ustedes, it would be sigan. So remember, for ustedes, we just add in to the end. The rest are going to be for usted, though. Salir, salga. Devolver, devuelva. Ofrecer. So this one, in order for it to make the ofrecer, we have to change it from se to seta se. Okay. I'll let you know if there are any other verbs like this, if there's anything tricky on the test, so don't worry too much about this. But ofrecer goes to ofrezca. Hacer goes to haga. Solicitar, solicite. Decir, diga. Alquilar, well, it should be usted, so alquile. Change it really fast. Go. Y ir, vaya. Reservar, reserve. Okay. All right, so now take a moment to do this activity. You just need to decide here. It says, la elección entre tú o usted depende de factores sociales y dialectales. Mira las situaciones de las viñetas, las fotos aquí. ¿Qué tratamiento usa aquí la mujer para hablar al hombre mayor? So here. El hombre mayor para hablar a la mujer y el policía para hablar al conductor. Okay. So pause just a second, then I'll go over this. Okay, so the woman here says perdone. Perdone comes from the verb perdonar. So if we know that it's an AR verb and she's saying perdone, we know that she's using usted, right? Because she's using the opposite ending command. But if we look down here, we see what looks like the el, ella, usted in the present tense conjugation. So we know that these are the two commands. So this is the old man speaking to the younger woman because since he is older, he's able to use tú, but since she's younger than him, she uses usted. So he says, mira, camina, and then ve. Here we see el policía. He uses, so de, this is from the verb dar. So we see that he's using usted with el conductor, the driver. So he says, deme, so that means give me, deme su licencia. And then the conductor, he just says, sí, claro. El policía, he says, vaya más despacio y tenga cuidado. And so vaya y tenga, we know, are usted commands. Okay, now we're going to do mandatos and object pronouns. So there's a few things we need to keep in mind here. So in Spanish, words that end in a vowel, a, e, I, o, u, n, a, s, a, or sometimes zeta, are stressed on the second to last vowel. If there's only one vowel originally and another part is added, okay, so for example, if we have the command di plus lo, so lo just means it, so say it. If we just have dilo, the stress still lands on the second to last vowel, so dilo. So we do not need to add an accent. If two parts or one part is added, you must maintain the stress on the original second to last vowel. Okay, so oops, let me edit a couple of things here. So if we have this here that says talk to her. Okay, so we need habla, and then to her. Hablar takes the indirect object pronoun le. Okay, because you're always going to be talking something to her, right? So we have to use habla and le. So here we have háblale, but in order to maintain the original second to last vowel stress, okay, so originally we just have habla, and we know that the second to last vowel is here, this first a. Once we add le, this changes things, and we need to make sure that people will still use the accent where it needs to be. So we're going to put an accent over la a, la primera a, the first a. Okay. So here are some other examples. These are tú commands plus the object pronoun. So try to do these on your own. Just pause for a second. Okay, so here you basically already have the answer from what I give you down here. Here it would be léelo, but we would put an accent over the first A. Okay, mirarse, so you need to change this. Oh, I'm sorry, this is for usted. So mirar plus se would be mírese. And then decir plus lo for usted this time, we would say dígalo. The instruction here wasn't super clear, but if you put dilo for tú, that is correct. But for usted, it would be dígalo. Oh, it looks like, okay, it's supposed to be usted. Sorry about that, y'all. So let's review again. So if we have hablar plus le, for usted, then we're going to have háblele. Leer plus lo, so lo being the book, so read it. Léalo. Mirar plus se, we have mírese, and then decir plus lo, dígalo. Okay, so what you're going to do here es conjugar el mandato tú y agregar los pronombres. So we're actually going to do tú y usted for 1 through 6. Okay. So hablar a ellos just becomes habla, because we're doing it, if we're going to do it for tú, and it's indicated here 1 through 6, which one you need to do, tú or usted. Habla, and then les, and then it would just become háblales. Okay, so we're maintaining this original stress on a, so háblales. So take a few minutes to do that, and then I'll go over the answers with you. And this will be finished. Okay, so for número uno, we have decir a ella, so we need di and le, dile. So since the stress is still on the second to last vowel, we don't need to add an accent mark. Usted pasar las frutas. Okay, so first we need to change pasar to pase, and then we add las to the end. So we say paselas, and we need to add an accent to the here, because originally it would be pase, but once we add las, we need to add the accent mark to ensure that there is the stress remaining on this original stressed vowel. Paselas. 3. Tú levantar a ti. Okay, so a ti is reflexive, so we know it's going to be te, so we're going to say levántate. So imagine that we didn't have te here. If we just had levanta, it would be second to last vowel a, and then we have levanta, and then we add te, so then we know we need to go back and add stress mark there. Usted hace la tarea, hágala. So again, we have haga, we add la, we need to put an accent over the original second to last vowel. Toma el café tú, tómalo, and then usted. So we have duerma, then we add se for a usted because it's reflexive, so we have duérmase. Okay, entonces, feel free to let me know via email if you have any questions, and I will upload this PowerPoint along with the video. And I hope you all have a nice weekend.